brother coming back, humming his hymns a little.
I want you to hear the lead of this article because it sets up something with some operative words here. The lead says that a triple homicide Monday night inside a drug and alcohol recovery facility in Remington has opened the window into a cottage industry in Baltimore. Small, unlicensed, and unmonitored group homes where recuperating addicts and alcoholics go to live. This is a totally unregulated, uncatalogued set of services, said Dr. Peter L. Bielenson, the city's health commissioner. There are many hundreds, if not thousands, in the city. That's what he said. Now you got to understand, I doubt very seriously there are thousands of these group homes like that in the city. Come on. The city, last statistics were about population of about 680,000. Anyway, I picked up and I denoted, you know, that essentially this is a serious type of intelligence gathering because they need to know how many group homes there are out there. See, look, let me tell you something. You can't have a new world order fall in place if you got any little people anywhere running around talking about getting free. You can't have that.
That's right.
You got to have an intelligence gap. Another thing we got to understand, too, is that since the history of the drug trade as it emerged here in America and it really came to our attention, you ain't never heard of a city running out of heroin.
Hello, or crack.
Or crack. You ain't never heard of it. You see, you need to maintain a specified amount of control over your addicts population. Now, in the early 90s, we did all of those lectures and the series of it. We broke down, we had the shipping routes, we had all of this stuff combined, and this stuff is on tape. These tapes were sold, distributed, books and different things were wrote. And look, we've done enough of the research on that to say that when we caught them with their hands in and out of CIA, when 3 drug dealers decided to run for president. Y'all remember that?
Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton was one of them.
Okay, Bill Clinton's one of them.
George Bush.
George Bush, no, Buster Rowe. Yeah, Buster Rowe and George Bush. So what you had were 3 drug dealers that decided that they were going to run for the office of presidency. And I found that as the years went on, we got the same process going on now. California, Texas, Florida, and New York, which were the 4 main shipment or entry points of all drugs into the United States. Got to understand that. These same states also had another problem. As far as black people were concerned, they had the highest unemployment rates and they also had the highest incarceration rates. You got to understand how all of that works into play. This is what brought Pepsi-Cola and Microsoft and Kentucky Fried Chicken, all of them on the bandwagon for the prison privatization industry, where a brother can't get a job that'll pay him $10 or $15 an hour, but you can stick him in prison and give him $2 a day.
That's right.
You got to understand the connection to that. The triple homicides, they say, the operative word here is unmonitored because they don't. Bielenson said it's not clear what services were being provided on the 27th Street facility. But the nonprofit group Club 12, formed in May of 2003, bought the property in July of 2003. It was not receiving state funding. It was unclear how many facilities the corporation runs, the state says. And then they go and they list the 3 officers. But the process of what they wanted to do was, number 1, these organizations were independent. Number 2, the state needed to step in. And number 3, they needed to take over. You got to understand something. When a man or a woman is clear-headed and not under the influence of alcohol or drugs, and they are sincerely seeking after something, that is a mind that cannot be stopped.
That's right.
Unless you subvert it.
That's right.
And divert that mind back to the negativity from which it came. You follow me?
Yes.
So you got to monitor these things. And I mean, I'm just looking at it and understanding how they operate. And even the government's level of approach to us, man, says that if investigators determine a facility was providing treatment without a license, they will confer with the state's attorney's office to determine sanctions. That's what they say that they were after. But a key point here I want you to understand. The article said that the triple homicide calls attention to the city's group homes, correct?
Yeah.
We said that the murders actually occurred on January the 10th. This article appears on January the 12th, and I want you to hear this well. These killings could reverberate more broadly across Baltimore's drug and alcohol treatment community, Bielenson said, and I'm afraid that this is going to potentially raise community ire around the city. So now everybody's going to get angry about this. The facilities are needed to help serve the community's estimated 65,000 addicts. Now, I don't have time to stand here and wrestle with that figure. I got some strong reserves about that. 65,000. Anyway. It goes further and it says, they offer recovering addicts and alcoholics a place to live after leaving long-term treatment and before they return to their homes. Some former addicts stay in these group homes for months before they return to their families. And they say it's easier to live with people of similar backgrounds. But some have already, and what we learned is that recently Mayor O'Malley convened a task force to try to come up with a solution for poorly run group homes. And the groups, which include Weber and Barney L. Sipple. You need to understand their name,
Yes.
Barney Sipple.
Think about it.
Because Barney is the chief executive of Baltimore Substance Abuse System. Baltimore Substance Abuse System's office is, I believe, located at 1 North Charles Street, same building that the child support office is in. You got to understand this. This is real heavy here. But the article says that some of the agencies had already come under question under the mayor's office and that he called for an investigation into the group homes prior to the January 10th homicides. Are you all understanding the direction I'm going? This was a setup from the beginning. They were going to go after the group homes because
They needed an excuse.
they needed an excuse.
Right.
And when you get certain law, some things just seem to appear inadvertent, but when you look at it on a deeper spiritual level and begin to discern what's happening, you realize, without getting into spookism and thinking, you got to understand the spiritual realm of a thing. When an evil spirit plants an idea, other evil spirits in the universe, they are working their evil. So that these things appear to go off simultaneously, but to the carnal eye, it looks as if it was all just a fluke. But the point being, the black man does something evil, affects the black community in a negative way. Black community must respond. News media must
blow it up.
blow it up.
Keep it in your face.
Law must be created in order to suppress evil. Black community can't seem to overcome evil. So therefore, evil must be crushed. You're following the process of the development that goes on here. I ain't heard none of the preachers come out and deal with this thing on a spiritual level. And that's the key sign that these brothers ain't being led by the true creative spirit in a way that brings truth, justice, righteousness across the board. You following what I'm saying?
Right.
This gets real interesting because, see, when the money starts getting kicked around, one of the strangest things that will always happen is that the people who end up in the end get paid because they came up with the idea. And ironically, as we are now hitting the middle of February, this group that the mayor convened has until the 28th of February to come up with some solutions on how to deal with these group homes. So I want to begin by letting you know again, as I showed the article, the homicide rate, it had nothing whatsoever to do, the triple homicide had nothing whatsoever to do with the fact that they were going to go after the group home, but under the guise of approaching it, they went to attack it and they profiled some sisters a week later on Monday, January the 17th. And this sister has a group in Monroe Street, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not going to put the sister's name out there publicly. But, however, the article goes on into the same process and it begins to do an analysis and the agencies are doing. And strangely enough and ironically, I noticed that the same names, Barney Sipple, Chief Executive of Baltimore Substance Abuse, a quasi-governmental group that oversees the city's drug treatment efforts, and Michael Douglas, who was the one that they put me in contact with when I tried to find out a little bit of information about it to see what it is exactly that this organization does. Again, there is a need to do a takeover process because, see, you got to start at